I was actually going to ask you first about your thoughts on trade, but clearly a lot of the news out of China these last 24 hours has really moved markets, whether that's a triple R cut or opening up the auto sector. Tell me what's most important for you today.
Yeah, well, I think both of those are ultimately interesting stories. The triple R cut probably plays into the story of bringing more of the financial system back into the hands of the majors banks, with too much of the financing having moved into the shadow system over the last few years as China's really expanded its level of leverage across the whole system. So that's really an important China-wide economy story over the coming years. And if it's important China-wide, then it's got to be an important story for the whole economy. The autos, I think, does relate to the other story that you were talking about, the overall trade discussions between China and the US and other countries. And that's going to be part and parcel of a negotiation we have between President Trump, the US, and other markets. And the autos are clearly one area where he's targeted for more access for US companies and presumably other foreign companies. And this seems like it'll be part of that negotiation.
And has there been a theme that's emerged out of that you can invest on? I mean, as someone who manages equities, an equity fund, I mean, how has that even affected any of your investment decisions? I'm curious.
We don't have a lot of exposure to the Chinese financials generally. We think there's too much debt in the system. We think there's an incipient sort of loan loss problem that isn't really recognised in much of the banking system's share prices. We've seen some small capital raisings, but we think over the medium term there's more to come there. So that's an area, particularly Chinese banking, that we've really avoided. In the autos, the Chinese auto market's been a tremendously profitable market for both the foreign carriers through their joint ventures and the Chinese operators as well, and it's also an area that we haven't found too much attractive. I think if you look at the auto sector globally over the coming years, they've got some pretty big issues to deal with. Three big key themes: electrification, autonomy, and ride sharing, all of which together are just going to really lead to a very substantial way in the type of cars people buy, the way they buy them, and it's going to be a big competitive issue between the various operators. So that's really led us to be a little bit leery about holding too many of the auto manufacturers either in China or in other markets.